Welcome to the Filipino martial arts lesson of the day. In today's video, we'll be covering 3 different ways to do the cambiata. If you hadn't gotten a chance to see the technique breakdown, just check out the little card that pops up right over here. Okay? All right, so let's get started. The first one is going to look like this. The second one, and the third one. Okay, so let's break it down. The first one, when I create the cambiata position like this, and then I move or create the offline for him, I will move my body in to create like this elbow wrenching position. And I want to use like more of a pivoting motion of my top, the top of my body, using either my shoulder or sometimes it could be the center of the chest. Depending on what's going on, this might be a lot more powerful, or this part will be a little bit more powerful. I'm just going to use more of the rotation area right here for right now, because I want to emphasize what happens next. As soon as you create the wrench here, I will roll my hand over into position right on the elbow or just above the elbow. Okay, if you do it right on the elbow, if he bends his arm, then he can either like roll to the bottom like this, lessening my control on top. So if it was, let's say, 1 or 2 inches above the elbow, it makes it a lot stronger. Notice here too that my puño is going to be shelved around his wrist, so that way if he tries to bend his arm, it's going to be challenging for him because I have this position and it's stuck here, okay? If I do it more like this, he can pull his arm, you can see that it'll flex back. So this wedge right here is super important that he'll run into it, okay? So now, the next piece, as I'm doing that, I'll create a little bit more pressure because, you know, this part right here creates the wrench, this part right here creates the leverage and position. Now that my hand is here, I'll actually roll it into place here as I create a little bit more space, and then pull to ensure that the arm stays straight. If I do this too close, like this, it could either go into this position, you can see that my elbow is exposed, he comes back up and he creates a wrench on my shoulder. So what I need to do is make sure that the arm is still straight by moving my body out of the way. My leg here will accomplish that for me. Okay, so now it's in play. I like to do this with my palm up, so that way if I did have a blade, right, for bastonidaga, you can see here it's still pointing in the same direction. So I always try to train my hand in the way that I would use it for future techniques or implements. Okay, so now my hand is here. I do like a backhand. It could be like a redondo right here. It could be any type of strikes that you're looking at. Okay, so let's do the breakdown one more time. The cambiata, as I enter, the first part right here is to wrench the arm and create position. The second part is to capture the arm and making sure that the tension is still here. And the third part of it is the follow-up. Okay, again, one more time. Okay, so that'll be number 1. Number 2 is basically the same thing, but the variation here is going to be using the puño instead of my hand. You can see that the hand is capturing it here. In this case, it will be the puño. And the same way that I was stepping back before, I'm just bringing his arm to the other side, but I will reinforce it from the bottom. So most of the control is on the bottom with the stick and then the bottom with my hand. Can he maintain and continue to go up, releasing his arm from that position? He can, but remember in the beginning, we had the wrench here and the leverage, so that way we will lessen or weaken the amount of control he has over his hand. Okay, so when we get to this position here, it's a lot easier. And in the moment he's thinking about what just happened to his arm, I will then create the same wrist bend with the puño and then eject it right from here. Okay, so it'll be more like a push and pull position right here. So I'm pulling with the stick, pulling it, and with my hand, I'm going to be pushing it. So both at the same time, 50-50 of the work, you can see the ejection take place. Again, the second part of the cambiata usage will be here as I eject it, okay? Now the third one is right here with the entrance here. And I can continue to create the wrench if I want to, but what I want to do is utilize the full length of my stick. So as the hit actually hits and pulls through, once it clears the line of the target, this part just basically circles underneath my partner's shoulder. And in the same time that we were talking about on the first two, that will just bring it all the way over. But instead of this hand doing the trick from the wrist manipulation, it'll just be with my hand as I just turn it over 180. I pull on the stick, and right from here, I don't want to do it from this end, even though I could grab it. I like to try to go as close to his grip as possible. This will be the push, and then my stick hand will be the pull. That will be the ejection. Now that my hand is over here, you can see it's loaded for like an open strike. I can go here, and then finish off with whatever combination that you have. So again, the cambiatas that enter in, that will be the hit. I can have the wrench here, and I circle it around, making sure that I have my palm up. If I'm not too committed or dedicated in pulling it over, he can basically do the same thing and reverse it on me. And then he pulls it out the same way that we're doing it before, because I was just stopping in mid-flow. So what I want to do is make sure that I maintain my momentum, and I bring it out in this position here during the opportunity. One more time, the opportunity is right here as soon as I pull it out. If you look at all three, a lot of them is going backwards because I want to maintain the tension of his arm being straight. His arm being straight here while I'm holding on to him is a lot weaker than him contracting his body and recruiting all of his muscles. So as you can see, number one, I am going backwards. Actually, that would be number two. Number one is here. See, I'm going backwards to maintain the tension. Number two, I'm going to go backwards to maintain the tension. And then number three, you could see that I'm going backwards to maintain the tension. Okay? So those will be the three different ways to do the cambiata. Practice it with your most trusted training partner, someone that you want to grow with.
Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. Click that bell button below so that we know whenever we post new videos.